Okay, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
I've just had an email from Mr. Groombridge, because I've been in communication with him anyway. Mr. Islam has been in communication with me about the video clip, and I've passed his comments on to Mr. Groombridge. I think he's trying to join the meeting. It looks as if he might be having trouble.
Mm-hmm. We've got the video clip, but it could be anywhere on Mars or Venus or Vegas.
Yeah, I think the idea was that that it's not at the moment. It's not there for information at the moment. Mr. Groombridge just submitted it, and basically I've asked him some questions that Mr. Islam has raised, and when I've got his answers, I shall make a ruling on it.
Okay.
Okay. As to whether it goes in or not. All I will say is it's brief at this stage. I should say no more than that.
Okay.
But anyway, I think Mr. Groombridge is trying to join us, so bearing in mind he speaks for the other residents as well, we ought to make moves to make sure he's in.
Well, shall I just go through all the periphery stuff before we get to the nub of it, so I can get all the regular stuff out the way? Okay, welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. In accordance with the 2020 coronavirus regulations, this meeting is being held remotely to facilitate attendance and enable the consideration of important matters during the current COVID-19 situation. For clarity, all members of the committee joining in remotely are still able to contribute and vote on any matter. I would ask all attendees tuning in to mute their microphones unless they have been invited to speak. If anybody wishes to speak, please send a message using the message icon at the bottom left of the screen, indicating your wish to speak, or the hands up function, and I will invite you in turn on your microphone at the appropriate point. When you are finished speaking, please remember to turn off your microphone again. I would remind you that at the moment, members of the public may be viewing this meeting. I'm Councillor Allen, Chair of the Licensing Subcommittee. Other members of this committee will now introduce themselves. Councillor Davis.
Councillor Sharon Davis from Langley Ward.
Councillor Downing.
Councillor Susan Downing, Albury Ward.
Do any members have any interest to declare in this this morning?
No, Chair.
No, Chair.
Fine, thank you. Right, the Democratic Services Officer will invite the applicant and their representatives to introduce themselves to the meeting and ensure that they can be heard. So, Shane, would you want to...
Mr. Islam?
Hello, good morning, everybody. This is Rafiqul Islam, solicitor from Crown Gate Law Solicitors, representing the applicant, Miss Mary Guinness. Yeah.
Miss Guinness, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning. It's Mary Guinness here.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. The format of the meeting today is an informal discussion which enables everybody present to have the opportunity to present their views. There is, however, a flow to the proceedings that will enable us to make a decision regarding this application. We will start with introductions. I am Councillor Allen, and I'm Chair of the committee today, and with me are each member. Would you like just to remind them who you are, members? You are Councillor Davis.
Councillor Sharon Davis, Langley Ward.
And Councillor
Susan Downing, Albury Ward.
Could I ask the officers present at this meeting to introduce themselves, please? The licensing manager.
Max Ingersoll, acting senior licensing officer.
Committee legal advisor.
David Elliott, committee legal advisor.
And Democratic Services officers.
Shane Parks, Democratic Services officer.
Christian Olsen, Democratic Services.
Are we still? Is it best? Can we carry on, or are we going to pause to see if the objector's going to be?
we
Chair,
do
I'm
need,
just trying to get Mr. Groombridge by email, okay?
we do need Mr. Well, obviously we need Mr. Groombridge anyway, but we have a preliminary decision to make on a video clip, so we need it for that as well. So yes, we do need him here.
Okay. David, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. We've got a preliminary issue to determine. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, nod your head.
Yeah, it's about a brief video clip that Mr. Islam has objected to being placed before the members, and he's raised. I haven't ruled on that yet. I think it's probably it's clearly you can't put it before the members and ask them to rule on it, because that's rather a self-defeating exercise. So I think I'm going to have to exercise jurisdiction over it. It's a representation by way of amplification, I think. I think we're all aware of what Mr. Groombridge's essential issues are and the residents. The objection to this particular clip, it's certainly quite brief, and it's not dated or time specific. By definition, it relates, I think, to, or is said to relate to time periods prior to current ownership of the premises licence. I think probably the starting point is for Mr. Groombridge to maybe amplify on that and explain why he would like it in, and then Mr. Islam to place his objections before the committee, and then I can make a consideration after that. So, Mr. Groombridge, if you would like to start. So we're just talking about your little clip that you've sent to be clear to me, really.
It was a video clip that I took from outside after it was between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning. It was when the pub was previously open. It was a regular thing to be going on something like 3 nights a week, sometimes at the week over Sunday nights as well. And it was just a clip to let you know. I mean, it wasn't as loud on the video clip as it was where the residents are, and it was just to show you what sort of thing the trouble we were having with the late night music going on until after 1 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was just in case that the music license was applied for. Up until this license application, every notice that was put in the pub's window was for a late night music license, and this is just in case, you know. I mean, I'll next time I shall try the next time to get a date on everything for him in the time, but I know the time was between 1 and 3 because I was trying to I'd got to get up for work at that time in the morning. So I can't give you an exact date, but it was just the middle of the week, one of the times when the pub was previously open.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Mr. Groombridge. Can you give us a rough date? Are we talking about this year, last year?
This is last year. It was when the pub was previously open.
Thank you.
It was probably towards the earlier part of the year.
Thank you, Mr. Groombridge. Is there anything else you want to say on that at all before we hear from Mr. Islam?
No. It's just that we're mainly concerned down here. It's not so much as the pub opening as such. It's if it gets into this late night game that it was doing before, it was more like a nightclub around there.
Yep.
When it was doing the late night stuff, if the pub's just going to be a pub, then we might be able to put up with that.
Yep. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Groombridge. I can see where you're coming from. We'll hear from Mr. Islam.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Groombridge, for raising these issues in regards to the video that you are intending to propose that the panel can see. if I may remind the panel that the application made for the timing only goes to up to 1 o'clock in the morning on in weekend, and on weekdays it only intends to operate until 12 o'clock. So even if the video was taken last year, even if the video was in fact taken at that premises, it was obviously taken at the time, as confirmed by Mr. Groombridge, that it was taken between 1 and 3. And my client does not wish to operate during those time. So for all of these reasons, I believe, and my client believes, that it is not relevant to the application in question.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Islam.
therefore,
Sorry, cut you off.
it's okay.
Have you said all you want to say?
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you. Right, I have seen this very brief clip. I'm going to make a ruling on it, which the starting point is that Mr. Groombridge is perfectly entitled to make representations by way of amplification to his original representation, and he speaks on behalf of his fellow residents as well. I think we understand what Mr. Groombridge and the residents' objection is. It is essentially noise caused by music and the attendant noise at certain times of night that go hand in hand with licensed premises. That's legitimate. It is legitimate to a degree to make inquiry into what the premises was like previously. But obviously, I think we all are aware that the Licensing Act starts off from a fairly permissive standpoint in respect of how it treats new applications. So whilst we can stray into the previous history, if it is a new application with a new business model, there is only a limited sort of degree in which we can stray into that previous history. And if we are to do so, it has to be of quite a demanding and high standard, I might suggest. Having seen it, I'm not convinced that this particular clip comes up to that standard. And therefore, my ruling, if you like, because somebody's got to make a ruling, is that it isn't put before members. But I would emphasise to Mr. Groombridge that does not mean, all it means is you've offered something by way of amplification. We're not sure it quite meets the standard to put before the members, but we're not dismissing your representation. You're here to make a perfectly valid representation, and by all means you can carry on making it. But I'm not convinced that the clip should be put before the members. So that is my ruling. So we're not going to look at that. But by all means now carry on, Chair, with the proceedings.
Okay, thank you very much. This is obviously to everybody that the objectors, as well, I would have thought. I believe that you have received a copy of how the meeting will proceed today. However, I will run through this quickly. The licensing officer will summarise the report, of which you should have a copy, following by which there will be the opportunity for questions. The objectors present will have the opportunity then to present their case, following which there will be opportunity for questions only if the objectors are present, which we have one, obviously. The applicant or his representative, their representative, will have the opportunity to present your case, following which there will also be the opportunity for questions. Please note the committee cannot take your personal circumstances into consideration unless it is relevant to the matter. The meeting can be adjourned at any time through the chair when necessary. You will then be given the opportunity to sum up. The committee will then receive legal advice from the authority's solicitor. Following this, the committee will consider the matter in private. At this point, you and the licensing officer will be asked to leave the meeting. The decision of the committee will be sent to you in writing. This will also detail your rights of appeal where appropriate. At any point in the proceedings, the licensing legal officer may ask questions to any of the parties present to establish, confirm a position from a legal aspect. Okay, so we'll now sort of get into the number of things to start the meeting. The order of proceedings are as follows. Could the licensing officer please present the report? Mac, hand over to you, sir.
Good morning, all. We're here today to consider an application for a grant of a new premises licence in respect of the Old Corner House, 1 Soho Street, Smethwick, B66 2RH. We've had representations from the fire safety officer and residents, which I'll address in a moment. The current position is an application has been made by Miss Mary Elizabeth Guinness for a grant of a new premises licence. The application is for recorded music indoors, Monday to Thursday, 12 midday to midnight, Friday to Sunday, 12 midday to 1 a.m, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, 12 midday to 1 a.m, and the sale by retail of alcohol for consumption on and off the premises, Monday to Thursday, 12 midday to 12 midnight, Friday to Sunday, 12 midday to 2 a.m. The proposed hours the premises will be open to the public are Monday to Thursday, midday to midnight, Friday to Sunday, midday to 2 a.m. The premises is a detached commercial property comprising of a living facility upstairs. There is a seating area at the rear which is proposed to be used for customers to sit and drink alcohol. There is no seating area at the front of the building. Alcohol will be served from inside the building. Following our previous hearing on June the 25th, the applicant has agreed a voluntary undertaking with the Fire Authority to complete works to the appropriate standard. The Fire Authority considered this undertaking sufficient to demonstrate that the public safety objective will be adequately promoted and removed its representation to the application on July the 10th. The voluntary undertaking was under the public safety heading. There are 2 points. First point, a fire risk assessment will be carried out for the premises and suitable fire safety procedures will be initiated prior to the premises licence being operated. Second point, if the first floor of the premises is to be used for any purpose, a fire detection and alarm system will be fitted to the whole of the premises before it is used. The system will be fitted to British Standard BS 58391 of 2017. That's been signed and dated the 9th of July 2020. So which leaves just the residents' representations, which we have Mr. Groombridge to elaborate for us.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Is everybody clear? That's what we're here for today. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, right. Are the objectives clear as well? That's what we're here for today.
Yes.
Good.
I just checked. Has everybody got the additional info? We've dealt with one bit of additional information. There were some photographs about the outside drinking areas. Everybody seen those?
There is no outside seating area. It's the car park.
Right, but there were some photographs that were circulated were at the side of the building.
Yeah, but it didn't show. It only showed the fact that there was just a car park out the back. There is no seating area at the rear of the building.
I think I'm not querying any facts, just that that we've seen those photographs that were circulated. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Is the car park going to be used for seating or parking cars?
We'll get the two in a minute. Can you please hold your fire until we're ready? Don't you worry, Mr. Islam. You wish to make a comment?
I've been logged out of the hearing, so I've missed out on the issues that's been said by Mr. Singh. If it's possible to just summarize the issues, if it's not.
Are you back in now, Mr. Islam?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yes. Whatever Mr. Islam has missed, and I think it sounds as if he's missed the licensing office presentation. Could we just go back over it, please? Just a technological hitch, but clearly Mr. Islam's the applicant. He's got to hear all the information that's been presented. So you just revisit.
I have heard until until the time when he said that the operating times, the proposed operating times. After that, I have missed out.
Okay.
On everything.
Thank you.
Have a reprise, please, Macca.
Okay, so so we went over the operating times, the times the premises will be open. Then we just mentioned the premises is a detached commercial property comprising of a living facility upstairs. There is a seating area at the rear, which is proposed to be used for customers to sit and drink alcohol. There is no seating area at the front of the building. Alcohol will be served from inside the building. Following our previous hearing on June the 25th, the applicant has agreed a voluntary undertaking with the Fire Authority to complete works to the appropriate standard. The Fire Authority considered this undertaking sufficient to demonstrate that the public safety objective will be adequately promoted and removed its representation to the application on July the 10th. And I just mentioned what the voluntary undertaking was. So there's a voluntary undertaking under the public safety heading. 2 points. First point, a fire risk assessment will be carried out for the premises and suitable fire safety procedures will be initiated prior to the premises license being operated. Second point, if the first floor of the premises is to be used for any purpose, a fire detection and alarm system will be fitted to the whole of the premises before it is used. The system will be fitted to British standard BS 58391 of 2017, signed and dated 9th of the 7th, 2020. And so that obviously deals with the rep from the fire safety officer, which leaves us with the representations from the residents, hence Mr. Groombridge is here today. And that's where we got to.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Okay. We're all up to date. You're happy that that's what we're here for, Mr. Islam, then, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So moving on then, really, at this stage, I have a couple of questions, really, and what we've had is about this seating area at the rear, which is proposed to be used for customers to sit and drink alcohol. At the moment, there isn't one. It's something in your application that you haven't put forward, so we don't know where it's going to be, how is that going to be accessed, how it's going to be secured, so that we can only deal with what we've been presented with, and that does not show any outside area to be used. However, during the COVID situation we're in, I think there is a relaxation temporarily. But I mean, David will probably be able to fill us in on what the implications are for that. David, could you provide us a bit of information regarding this relaxation that car parks could be used potentially?
Well, it's not law at the moment. We're not sure when it's coming in, but there is a planning and regulation bill that is being proposed. And I think we all understand that one of the problems with COVID-19 and social distancing is that it rather reduces the business efficiency of running a pub inside because of how many people you can actually fit inside the premises. So the mischief, if in inverted commas, being promoted by this legislation is to give pub owners more latitude to make their operations economically viable. That's if the council, of course, consider that they are applications that could run in the first place without any prejudgment going on in terms of this hearing. But if a premises license is granted, then basically it liberalises the issue as regards off sales, and secondly, in conjunction with the planning bill, it basically permits drinking outside of the premises, together with table furniture, and to assist that there is an application that can be put into the Highways Authority to give a permission at short notice with quick turnaround to allow that to happen. So I think what we're saying is, for the purpose of this hearing, whilst it's not law yet, probably you need to look at the application in the context of COVID-19 and matters that are being introduced to deal with it. In terms of when this is likely to become law, the nearest clue I've had is sometime in August, but nobody seems to quite know yet. But it needs to be judged in that context, I think. So I think the application, I'm right in saying, is on and off sales, isn't it? That's the application. So the application is for on and off sales. The new planning bill would very much encourage and relax the off sales anyway. But on top of that, you've got the relaxed permission as regards drinking outside, and how that is going to be regarded generally going forward. So that's really the position. In terms of the of outside in any case, there is no suggestion, I don't think, whatever is going to be done here. My understanding as regards this application is as follows: that there is no proposal to actually supply alcohol or serve alcohol outside. It is simply the consumption of alcohol outside, which is not per se, if you like, a licensable activity. So the actual serving and supply point of the alcohol remains inside the premises. So this is not, if you like, a licensable activity, but it is relevant. It's a relevant issue, the outside. I think Mr. Islam has said to me that he can't provide a plan. They're not in a position to provide a plan. It's relevant in the sense that clearly Mr. Groombridge and the residents' thrust of their objection is possible noise nuisance. So we need to know a little bit more about it so we can gauge the how that it might affect Mr. Groombridge's particular objection, really. So that's because although there's no supply of alcohol there, it is still something that we could condition if you thought it appropriate.
Thank you, David. What about the longer term planning issues? Well, now planning outside beer gardens are subject to planning approval as well. I mean, that's something that the applicant really should consider anyway.
Yeah, it's not something for this committee. I think as we are aware, the two committees, planning and licensing, operate entirely independently of one another. The fact that you get one consent from one committee doesn't mean that you've got a consent from another committee. And indeed, the guidance, the 182 guidance, hints at that. I think what the guidance does say is it's preferable if any planning issues are sorted out before an applicant goes to a licensing committee, but it's not compulsory. And I think something like an outside drinking facility, particularly with the current climate and the current proposed legislation, is something that we can deal with today. I don't think we need a plan. I don't think it needed to be included in the premises license because historically it hasn't been. But it is a relevant issue because an outside area can generate noise. The noise is one of the licensing objectives that's being engaged today.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Very, very useful. Okay. So really now we're open to the objectors to tell us why they have issues with this particular license application. So Mr. Bloomsbury, is it? Bloomsbury.
Mr. Groombridge.
Mr. Groombridge, sorry.
Mr. Groombridge.
Over to you, sir.
Well, I understand you were on about people drinking in the car parks. We've had problems with the vehicles being parked all over the roads up here, including in our driveway, which is the only access should the emergency services need to get down to us. The pub did have 2 bouncers on the door who were supposed to prevent this, but I've had to go inside the pub myself, and it's been fully crowded with people and trying to find the manageress so I can get my vehicle out to go to work. There is no room at all for them to park on the road, and the car park isn't as big as supposed to be. Actually, it's probably a little bit bigger than what the pub is. As for the late night music, it's been going on. I've already told you that, and I sent you a little clip which you haven't accepted. Fine, but it's a really loud, deep, bassy type sound. with that sort of noise. We don't really hear much of the people unless they're actually trying to sing along to whatever music is going on. And so our main objections was the music and the way they park the cars outside. It reduced the cars when they turned up before. They were parking on both sides of the road, which reduced the road from 2 lanes to 1 lane, and you couldn't walk down the footpath.
Okay. So I'm just following over my notes. Is there anything else, Mr. Groombridge, you want to add? Groomberry, sorry.
I did supply some photos of a sheltered covered area, which is already attached to the pub, when it was mentioned before about this planning permission they'd applied for. All it needed really was a skip to go in there and clear out from underneath it, and you've got a sheltered drinking area as it is.
Well, I don't think we've seen those photographs. So I haven't got them.
I sent them out to Shane and I think it's David. And then I will send some photos back, and I'll just get you the names of Macron had them as well. David Elliott had the photos. Shane Parsons had the photos, and I'm sure I sent them as well to Maccan. And I don't know where they've gone from there.
Those are the photographs I was asking about at the beginning. Nobody has seen them.
Oh.
I thought I'd thought.
David, if I can just intervene, I did ask if I could send those out, but I didn't get any instructions on it, so I haven't sent them. But I
right.
You had sent them while I was off.
Have we got them in sendable form at the moment? It's not going to take very long to look at them.
Yes, I can send them. That's no problem.
Can we forward them? Can we forward them now? Can I just offer an apology? I was under the apprehension we'd all seen them. They are, in terms of absorption of information, it's very low volume. We're looking about 5 photographs from memory, so it isn't going to disrupt the proceedings. And this is clearly an admissible amplification because they're just straightforward photographs of the premises. So I will allow those to be circulated.
Do you want to have a little couple of minutes of adjourn while we get those sent out then?
Yes.
So I'll just...
Yes, apologies to all if we slipped up there. I thought they'd been circulated.
It shouldn't take more than 5 minutes if we want to adjourn and then come back to the meeting.
Okay, good idea.
Have I got to dial back in again and find the number again?
Just stay where you are. Just stay where you are.
Hang on the phone, okay.
I've received those, thank you.
Yes, I've seen them, thank you.
You need to unmute your mic, Chair.
I've just sent a picture across to Shane, David, Sue, and Sharon and Macan. I'd got from Google Maps of the pub as it is now. That will also help.
Okay, I've just forwarded the pictures, having removed everyone's email addresses, to Mr. Islam.
Yes, received both, Chair, thank you.
This is one that shows something in terms of we've heard some issues around parking, and what it does show also the fact that the building is surrounded by double yellow lines pretty much. But it just shows the car park where there is currently no seating, and certainly there's the limited space it's got for parking anyway. But we're back with someone to discuss. Thought if you had the other pictures, that might be useful. Okay, have we all seen pictures? Are we all ready to go again? Mr. Islam, is he coming back with us?
Yeah.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Yep. So I guess we've got those pictures now. I don't think they showed much apart from the fact how it needs a bit of a makeover in there. But again, I get the point that there's an area that is with the veranda that could be useful if it's prepared and properly. For part of the outside seating. Okay, so we are now, where are we now? We've had the objectors. Obviously, the issues are that historically the previous people running the business were a little lax in terms of their responsibilities. And we need to ensure, and I'm sure Mr. Islam and Ms. Guinness we do not want a repetition of the past. So now, where we are now is Dave. Is anything else you wish to raise at this stage, or David? Can I ask the applicant to go on to present their case?
Have we got to the stage where, I mean, everybody will be aware we can set our own procedure under the hearing regulations. So I understand it that Mr. Groombridge has now effectively made his objection, if you like. Can we ask Mr. Groombridge any questions on his objection at this stage? Because I've probably got a couple of questions I would like to ask him. I don't know if any of the members have, and maybe Mr. Islam has as well.
Yep. Okay. Then, we'll let Mr. Islam go first, and I think David, and you can keep your powder dry. Mr. Islam, is there anything you wish to ask? The objector?
Yes, Chair. I probably have a couple of questions. Mr. Groombridge, you mentioned about the noise, and those noise, did they come? What time do you suggest to the panel that the noise is to be a disturbance to the local residents?
The noise it goes on, it was starting, I think, at about 8 o'clock at night, and it was going on all night.
And did that affect?
Until the pub closed at about 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. And
going on from about 8 p.m. till about 3 o'clock, till the pub closed.
And did that bother you because it went on till 3 o'clock?
Well, when you're trying to get up, when you got to get up at half past 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning to go to work.
So would that make any difference?
To drive a truck all day, you could do without the noise going on when you go to bed between 6 and 7 at night. And it's going on it's going on through the night. You don't sleep. You try to sleep. You doze off. You try to roll over the other side. You can't put earplugs in your ears because you've got the alarm to go off. So this noise was going on all night long. And then you get up in the morning and your eyes are blood red and watery because you had no sleep. Then you go up to the drive and somebody parked the car in the drive again. Then you can't find the bouncers to move the car. So you have to go in the pub and fight your way past everybody to get to the bar to ask the manageress if she can sort out getting the car out. She then throws a tantrum because it's the bouncers were supposed to be doing it. I come out the pub and then I'm going to stand there 10 to 15 minutes while I find this person to remove his vehicle. We used to put bollards across the drive to stop them parking in there. They'd move the bollards. Bouncers were supposed to be there to stop them doing it. Bouncers were too busy talking to people at the door.
Mr. Groombridge, may I just redirect my questions about the timings of when the noise disturbed the local resident? And would you say that it would, if the pub finished at 12 o'clock rather than 3 o'clock, would that make any difference to your sleep? And
is the music outside or inside, and what sort of music is it? Because it was mostly live music, some bloke and a couple of women screaming their heads off.
Mm-hmm. No further questions.
Well, he didn't answer mine. Is it live music or recorded music? Because the problems we've had mostly is with a live group or band or whatever singing.
It will be recorded music, as far as I'm aware.
A DJ. And inside or outside?
It will always be based inside, whatever it is.
Inside. Well, that's okay, because then you can have the noise people come round and fit these monitors in. That restrict the music from going a bit above a certain level. I've been in clubs where these have been fitted to the ceiling and they stop the music going too loud because of the residents living nearby to the clubs. So, yeah, if you're going to do that, then fit these noise level things to reduce the noise level when going too high.
It just gives me another questions to ask. If my client is willing to work with the community, with the local resident, and is willing to put notices up at the premises regarding parking and the problems that you had in the past, and continuously make effort to make customers aware of the fact, the problems that potentially you might have in terms of getting in and out of the property because of the customer parking at this premises. Is that something you would appreciate?
we'd appreciate some sort of assistance, because some of our residents, when they've come back late at night and they've asked somebody to move the car,
Thank you, Mr. Greenwich.
they've had to fetch the police out to them because they threatened to punch their heads in.
I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. I'm not pushing in front of members, but what I'm going to do is, whilst asking the questions, just reiterate the law as well, because the members, that would help the members to maybe ask you some further questions. In the application is something called an operating schedule, where the applicant describes how they will meet the licensing objectives.
Yeah.
You have read that, haven't you, Mr. Groombridge?
I don't think I've been supplied with this.
Has Mr. Groombridge not had an agenda? Can he access the agenda? Right, you've not read the agenda, Mr. Groombridge?
I don't think so. I don't think I've been supplied with anything, you know. I've had what's come through the post, so I've looked at what I've been given in the emails.
Okay, let me try and help you and guide you then. And I'm looking at the agenda that I've got. The applicant has to tell us, because the law and the guidance say so, how they're going to meet the various licensing objectives. And a central one to your objection is public nuisance. It's clearly an issue that you're greatly concerned about, and you've explained it very effectively so far this morning. So if I read to you what the applicant is proposing to do, and I ask you to bear in mind that this is not just a polite suggestion from the applicant. It's effectively licensing conditions. So they are a requirement of the license. So what they've said is that they will ensure staff regularly patrol the premises, both inside and out, to supervise patrons' conduct. They will leave prominent legible notices asking people to leave the premises, and the area quietly will be displayed at all times. They will control the volume of regulated entertainment taking place at the premises. So that's an undertaking to control the volume of the recorded music. No music or speech will be permitted to be played by external speakers. The license holder will control the volume of regulated entertainment taking place at the premises by the installation of a noise limiter. That's correct, isn't it, Mr. Islam? That's what your client has said they will do.
Yes, Mr. Elliott. That's correct.
Yeah.
That is quite a significant commitment, Mr. Groombridge. If I said to you that the guidance asks for caution on noise limiters, because they can be a bit of a clearly they control nuisance, but the guidance is concerned that they might be a bit difficult to handle as far as pub premises management is concerned. But the applicant volunteered it. No doubt they will go into further detail when Mr. Islam outlines his application to it. They're going to they've undertaken that all external windows and doors will be kept shut, other than for access or regress, in all rooms where events involving amplified music or speech or other entertainment is likely to give rise to noise. They'll have people patrolling facilities for the disposal and collection of litter. Litter collection and refuse disposal will be made at hours that do not interfere with the residential amenity of the area. Similarly with deliveries, again, that they will be done at a time that is congenial to the residents getting decent night's sleep. So you may not have had this information, but what I'm telling you is that really amounts to a legal commitment by the applicant to meet the prevention of public nuisance licensing objective. There are other commitments they have made as well, which I think are probably going to be more the concern of the panel generally rather than you. But those are the things that they have done in order to try and meet your concerns. So and I suppose my question, after reading all that out to you, clearly it was worth it because I don't think you've had access to it. Is does that make you feel any happier?
Yeah.
Allied with the proposed times that they are proposing to operate.
That's it's a relief, especially to hear that they're on about fitting the noise limiters. Otherwise, I wouldn't have mentioned it if I'd known about it. So yeah, it is, and it's just a car parking problem to sort out. That's all.
Right. I mean, whatever happens today, Mr. Groombridge, I'm not predetermining in any way, sense, or form. But
No.
Whatever we send to you, it might be a good idea. If whatever we send to you in terms of a decision might also include the agenda papers, so that you've got an idea of the sort of business model that the applicant has committed themselves to reference. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got no more questions, Mr. Groombridge. Thanks for helping me.
Okay.
Thank you, David. Mr. Islam, Ms. Guinness, would you like to present your case, basically, for the application?
Yes, Chair. Firstly, I will outline our position, and then, with your permission, Chair, I would like Ms. Guinness to elaborate, or if she has any other points to raise or submit. I would request you to allow her to submit that. First of all, Chair and the panel, my learned friend, Mr. Elliott, has covered most of the points that I was going to mention in regards to the rear area, sitting area, or the parking area, if you call it. In regards to the pictures that was provided by Mr. Groombridge, I think that just reflects partial area of the garden. However, our client has provided a big amount of pictures to show the full picture of the back garden area, and is in process of removing all the rubbish. As you probably notice in the picture, all the rubbish is being pushed into a corner, waiting to be removed from the garden. In regards to the shelter, the benches, and the main purpose of our client is to accommodate smokers in the back area rather than having a designated area for drinking. And that is the purpose. She, at all times, she intends to operate from within the property premises, and rightly said by Mr. Elliott that obviously due to the COVID-19, government rules are being relaxed to allow people to drink outside, and that is with that situation. However, in the long run, our client's purpose is to accommodate smokers outside by giving them probably 2 benches and have some sort of umbrellas, if you say so. That would not require planning permission, I believe. In relation to the points raised by Mr. Groombridge, I think there are 2 main issues. Issue number 1 is parking, and issue number 2 is noise. With parking, I have outlined as Mr. Elliott in the commitments that our client is proposing in order to work with the local residents to limit the noise limit. To make clients aware of the parking problems that the local resident might face. And also, the second point is noise. You are aware, the chair and the panel, is that the application is intends to operate this business until 12 o'clock from Monday to Thursday, and from Friday to Sunday, I think it's 12 till 1 in the morning. So this differs from how it used to be run before, and used to go on until 3 o'clock, which is not the case. And in addition to all the commitments that's been mentioned by Mr. Elliott earlier, our client has also got a noise limiter to limit the noise. So that is the commitment that our client has. In terms of In terms of objections or any other issues, I don't see any other issues. We have provided notice to 9 different government departments. Only one government department has raised objection, which was fire department. Now they are satisfied, provided that our client has provided a voluntary undertaking to meet the requirements. I don't see why this license should be rejected, and our client has got longer plans with these premises to sort of do it in a way and take lessons from whatever happened in the past, from the way it was run, and to do it in a way that is compatible with the local residents, as well as meeting all the objectives that's been given as commitment in the original application. That is all, Chair and the panel, from me, unless Ms. Guinness has anything else to add. Thank you.
Just the councillor left his seat very briefly. You left your seat very briefly, Councillor Allen. You may have heard Mr. Islam anyway, but he just rounded off by saying the application had gone out to all relevant authorities, and only the fire service had seen fit to comment on it, and therefore he saw no reason why the application shouldn't be granted.
Fine, thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Guinness, do you just add to what Mr. Aslam has said, or amplify it at all?
I mean, my solicitor said everything. I just wanted to say to the local residents, you know, I'm a very approachable person. I want to work with the community. I don't want to upset anyone. I want to be there for long term. So I want to get on with everybody. So yeah, I'm willing to work with the community. I'm very good at listening to rules and following rules. I mean, I've been in this business now for a good 11, 12 years now. It's just a small little community pub. I'm not looking, it's a pub, it's not a nightclub. So it's just reasonable times. And yeah, I mean, I think everyone said everything, basically.
Okay, that's all. I've got a few questions I'd like to ask, if I may. Miss Guinness, how long have you had your personal licence?
I got my personal licence last year.
Yeah, and have you been working in the licensed trade?
Yeah, I've been working in the pub industry now for about 11, 12 years. I've worked in different pubs, yeah.
Okay, whether for yourself. Sorry.
One thing I was going to say as well about like the car parking things. I'm going to be putting up signage about everything. You know, like we've got a notice board inside the pub. I'll be printing out signage about people leaving quietly, and I will be mentioning about the parking as well, putting that up there, so so people can understand and not block the entrance to the residents where they're living. And yeah, just monitoring it basically.
Okay, thank you. In the licensing objectives, crime and disorder, you talk about suitably qualified door staff.
Yes, that's something I would. I mean, if I have to do that, then I will do that.
Well, no, you said you're going to do it, but what does that mean?
I would get security on the door on a Friday and a Saturday night. You know, like,
when we're talking
what do you call them? Bouncers, security.
Yeah, but how you say suitably qualified? I mean, we would expect these to be SIA registered door staff.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
In terms of that, so if we could, I mean, in fact, we would insist on that. We wouldn't have door staff that aren't SIA registered.
Yeah, no, they would have to be. Yeah, definitely.
If I can just interject here for Mrs. Guinness Bennett, and I'm sure I'm not doing Mr. Islam's job for him, I'm sure, but the list of undertakings that you've given on your operating schedule, Ms. Guinness, effectively they virtually become conditions of your licence. So it's not a wish list. You're making a commitment to the licensing authority, and we're probably going to question you about one or two of these as well. I've got a couple of questions to ask. And the other thing is, Macam, I think off the top of my head, Macam, it's a mandatory condition that your door supervisors are SIA registered, isn't it? That is actually part of the licensing act.
It would have to be, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, David. CCTV, so you're going to keep that for a minimum of 14 days. I think, again, we would insist that 28 days is what the police would expect and our licensing authority. So we would like to see that would be changed.
Yeah, that's fine.
And obviously, this is a key one for you, because this is what these people say but don't do, and that is, if the system's faulty or not working, and the police and the licensing authority will be informed immediately. Because all too often, and if something happens and we go with the committee, you see CCTV, or we broke yesterday, the day before.
No, we've got a brand new system in, brand new one. So everything's up and running. It's all brand new.
So whereabouts? Does it say what areas is your CCTV cameras covering?
It's covering the whole of the front, around the pub and around the back. It's covering everywhere, basically. Yeah.
Is it,
and the inside as well.
Yeah. So you would have one on the front, covering the front door outside?
Yeah. It's on the front door.
Okay.
For the front area, yeah. And it's for inside as well. There's quite a few cameras.
You talk about putting in a noise limiter, which is very commendable. But I
believe there's one in already. I did get my solicitor to submit some photos.
It obviously wasn't working before.
So you know what? I don't know about people in the past, but you know, I'm a new case.
Miss Guinness, the issue I have with that is because the comment is that this is going to be controlled by yourself.
Yeah.
The licensing holder will control the volume on regulated entertainment taking place by the installation of a noise limiter, but it's what level that is set at. David, from a legal point of view, should this be in conjunction with environmental health in terms of determining the level of setting on a noise limiter?
Yeah. This was something I would have touched upon had you not touched upon it. The first thing to say is that whilst the Section 182 guide says whilst these are welcomed, they are seen as potentially burdensome. But I think it is credit to Miss Guinness that she's put this commitment in her application. And I suppose what we would say to the applicants is we recognise that environmental health have not made any objection or representation. That doesn't preclude that the committee's discretion is engaged, and I think, bearing in mind that these things are not necessarily cheap to start with, it might benefit everybody if the expertise of our environmental health officer was engaged in assisting you in setting it up. I don't know if that is something that you have any tremendous difficulty with, but I think we might like to suggest to you that you set it up, taking a bit of guidance from our environmental health people. Is that something that you would have any problem with?
No, I have no objections with that. I'm fine with that.
So we might be minded to put, if we minded to grant, we might be minded to put a condition onto that effect. Okay, thank you.
Okay. The only other one would be that I'm going to, on the protection of children from harm, was where any restrictions on admission of children to the premises or displayed outside the premises. I think that's something that we would like to know how you intend to do that. In terms of...
To be honest, I don't think it's appropriate for children to be in that environment. It's just a little pub. It's not like it's a big family pub or something. It's just a small little derelict pub in the middle of nowhere. So I don't think I wouldn't be allowing children in, to be honest.
Well, this is something that's put in your guide, your operating schedule. So this is so unless you want to take that out and say no children to be admitted to the premises.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. To me, it's not appropriate for children. I mean, I won't say no. I know there's a time there's a law like up to a certain time and things like that. But to me, that pub around there, I don't think it is for kids. I don't think it's suitable for children. I wouldn't myself, I wouldn't be comfortable with children running around in a pub.
Well, you're the designated premises supervisor.
Yeah.
Maybe it helped me on this one because obviously we've got this in the operating schedule. Page 36 of my papers.
I haven't got no papers.
Protection of children from harm. The last third item.
Yeah, I think what you've put on there, Ms. Guinness, I've got it in front of me. So protection of children from harm, you've put proof of age policy will be enforced.
Yeah.
Challenge 21/25 policy will be employed by those individuals who appear to be under the age of 21/25. So I presume that's an either or. Maybe we might prefer 21. Attempting to purchase alcohol will be asked for identification.
Yeah.
The type of ID that will be accepted as a pass, accredited ID, passport or photo, driving licence. Any restrictions on the admission of children to the premises will be displayed outside the premises. So that's really an undertaking that you're giving to us. So probably what the committee would need to know or suggest is whether it is going to be 21/25. And we would normally expect a system like this, and it normally would incorporate a refusals book as well, or some sort of book recording any attempts to be by people underage to be served alcohol, or that type of thing.
Okay, Macan, do you want to add something to that?
Yes, thank you. In Sandwell, we generally do adopt the Challenge 25. We would prefer the Challenge 25.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Could I just check, Mac, to make sure I'm not speaking out of turn? Clearly, refusals books are relevant to underage sales of tobacco, etc., from news agents. Is that something that you would expect? We would expect here as well, in any sort of challenge age-related scheme.
Yep, that's correct. Yep, Challenge 25 and a refusal book. Yep, incident book plus the refusal book is what we would like to see on a compliance visit.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Right, now get on to the more detailed stuff in terms of the hours, because there's obviously some concerns being raised by the objectors. One of the immediate ones is when we look at the hours of opening to the public, and we look. I haven't got a problem with the range of put, except for Sunday. I need to be convinced that opening till 2 o'clock on a Monday morning is the right thing. I mean, most of us, we have people who go to work on a Monday. Weekends, the late openings are usually Friday and Saturday. And yet, for some reason,
I think Friday and Saturday, but Sunday, yeah, a little bit less, like 1 o'clock.
well, we're always thinking of keeping Monday to Thursday. I mean, if we said 12 o'clock on Sunday, 12 till 12.
Yeah.
I mean, Sundays is still a day that people are not at work, but I've got to go to work on Monday. Well, if they're lucky enough to.
Most people, yeah.
But the real knock-on effect of that, of the existing ones, is the fact that you've got selling alcohol up until the moment that you actually kick people out of the pub.
I think I didn't realise about that, but it would be half an hour before closing time. Yeah, they would have their last round, have time to drink up, and they would have to be out of the premises by, you know, the time. It gives them good timing to sort out taxis and whatnot.
We'd be bringing it down Monday to Thursday to 11:30, and Friday and Saturday 1:30, and Sundays we're still debating about. Yeah.
I think in old money, Mrs. Guinness, there was no drinking up time from what we could see.
I remember last time. I don't know. I can't remember about that. I don't know about on the form. So
No.
yeah, it would. I would have to. Sales would finish at a certain time, half an hour before, and they'd have time to drink up, sort out taxis, the way to get home, and then everyone out. If it's 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock. If it's 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock. But I wouldn't be selling all the way till closing the doors. I need to clean up and tidy up and get them out.
I'm not speaking for the members, but obviously that would tie in with your notices about organised dispersal as well, wouldn't it? It's much easier to organise a dispersal from the premises when you've got, if you like, if the licensable activities finish before the actual closing time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just logical, isn't it?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. And again with the recorded music, again, you'd got that on Monday through to Thursday, you'd got that finishing at 12 a.m. rather than 11:30. Friday and Saturday, you've got that down finishing at 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. an hour before your time. So that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. And in the weekdays, it would just be, just a normal little radio. Turn it off like,
fine, but
at the same time when we finish drinking.
11:30, it's finished at 11:30.
Yeah.
I know if you're doing a discount, just one more record, please.
Oh, no. If the finishing time for the drink is at, in the weekdays, Monday to Thursday, 11:30, when last drink is, the music will be turned off as well.
Okay, well, that's fine. And I think
otherwise, they'll want to stay there all night, wouldn't they?
I think that's. I'll just make sure I've done anything else.
The only thing I would say about that is that I haven't checked, to be honest, but I think you'll probably find there's a raft of legislation in the licensing act or introduced afterwards that deregulates what we can license in terms of recorded music, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of it can carry on, provided you're under a certain number of people and within certain hours, without any. Doesn't give us any discretion to license it.
I think that's like acoustic music rather than pre-recorded.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think unamplified music can get paid, but when it's so if you've got a guy playing a guitar on it, an acoustic guitar, fine.
Yeah.
But if you're playing recorded music, then it's as it is. So I know that because I work with a particular band and they do this sort of thing.
Yeah. I think all I'm saying is we'll take it into account. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Chair, Councillor Downey's got a hand up, just to remind you.
Yep. Right. I was just coming to that. Members, your turn. Sue. Sue Downey.
Yes, Chair. Just a bit of clarification, really. Yeah, where the objector lives. I've got Google's map picture up at the moment, and the pub seems in quite an industrial area. Where does Mr. Groombridge actually live? Because the residents' houses and so forth, I can only see the other side of the dual carriageway.
Some narrow boats down. There's a mooring for narrow boats down the side, directly opposite and down the drive.
Right. Okay. Is that where Mr. Groombridge actually resides then?
I don't know.
Yes, and about 15 or 16 other boats.
Right. Okay then, Mr. Groombridge. Thank you very much for that.
Okay. Anything else, Sue? Anything else, Sue?
No, Chair, not at the moment. Thank you.
Hi, Pete. Thank you. I was just getting a bit confused with the closing hours, really, because on the weekend 2 o'clock was mentioned on the application.
Yeah.
And well, as I'm looking at it now, I thought the opening times was 12 till 1 p.m. 1 a.m. Sorry.
we've got recorded music is on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday showing as 1 a.m. But the opening hours, and if you've got the pack in front of you, it's on page.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the hour. Supply of alcohol is till 2 a.m. Oh yes, sorry, and the premises is open till 2 a.m. That's what I'm reading.
Yeah. Well, we've already picked up on the fact that the supply of alcohol is coterminous with the kicking out time, and we will adjust that in our final. Well, after discussion, if we're going to grant this, then we'll make sure that we have everything covered. We think for the safety of the community and for the business to be able to provide.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Backhand, is there anything you wish to ask about this? I've kept you in the car. I'm just following a script. I haven't forgotten you.
No, thank you very much. No, thank you. Everything's okay from our point of view. Thank you.
David, is there anything else you wish to ask at this stage?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, if there's nothing, well, we get to the point of summing up. Our objective, I can never remember his name. I'll get it quite right. Mr. Groombridge. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Would you like to sum up your objections and maybe why we shouldn't grant the license, or whether we should grant the license modified?
Well, our objections was to the late night music outside and to the way the cars was all parked around in the area. And you get these refillable cigarette thingies or whatever they are. You get all the cartridges dumped all over the floor. As was mainly the arguments that we had against the pub being reopened up as it was, and so apparently you've taken care of some of the issues, as I can see. You're not having the live music anymore. The pub's still opening a bit late-ish, but obviously you're going to take care of any sort of noise with these limiters. So, I can't really say much other than what I've been saying. If as long as our issues are taken care of and everything, it should be okay, I think.
Good.
It's gone into it with quite a bit of detail, and it's explained exactly what the lady is intending to do. In that it's not going to turn into a nightclub, and that was one of the biggest worries I think we'd all got down here after what we had last time.
Good. Thank you very much, Mr. Islam or Mr. Guinness. Do you want to sum up your where we are or where you are?
So I think we have already summarized everything. But all I want to say on behalf of my client is that we have gone through a lot of issues, and we are at a stage where all the issues have been resolved, and the objections raised by Mr. Groombridge. Our client is prepared to work with him and any other local residents living nearby the property, the premises, and we have no objection from any other government departments that serve notice, and that is all. And I request that the panel and the chair considers all of those discussed and kindly grant our premises license to my client for that premises. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
I've got a request for one further piece of information. I'm sorry I'm out of turn, but I don't think it's going to affect the fairness of the proceedings. I had made a note about this and forgot to ask it. Do we have the fire service determine this? But have we got any rough idea what the occupancy limit of these premises might be in terms of people inside? Does anybody know? Don't know. But presumably the fire service will set that at some stage, won't they? Have you, just as a matter of scale, Ms. Guinness, have you got the idea if the pub was full, and it wasn't. We weren't living in COVID. You know how many people might be in it.
Oh, I really don't know that one. I believe they check that when they do the fire risk assessment, isn't it? Yeah. So that's what I'd need to do. But offhand, I don't know.
Fire risk assessment hasn't been done yet, has it?
No, it's going to be done. That was the terms with the fire department, and it will be done. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. In that case, any other members wish to ask anything else while we've got to the? Do we have you come spring to mind at all? Are we all okay where we are?
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Fine. Okay, I'll now ask our legal advisor to provide us with our legal advice, please, before we go into private session.
Yes, this is a new application for a premises licence. As we know, the applications have been pending for some time, but due to unprecedented national circumstances, it's been put on the back burner, but we're now dealing with it. First thing to say is that the Licensing Act is permissive in character. New applications tend to start on the front foot to some extent because basically if it is a new application, it will be a new business under a new manager and will be a new project. And whilst the previous history can be relevant, and it has played a part in this particular application, the previous history does have to be evidenced quite convincingly because it is based on people running the business that are not going to be running the business and the same type of business that's being run now. Mr. Groombridge has obviously given evidence about his concerns being an early morning worker and being kept awake until 3 in the morning. We've had a very detailed operating schedule from Ms. Guinness and her legal representative, setting out how they propose to meet the licensing objectives. Obviously, their proposed hours would appear to be different from the previous business model in terms of when they finish, which I think is they have extended hours at the weekends and much reduced hours from the previous method of operating during the week. It's been clarified during the course of the application that there will be drinking up time, in inverted commas. In other words, the licensable activities will finish half an hour before closing time, which will assist in disbursement. And there have been some fairly detailed proposals in the operating schedule as to how the new applicant intends to meet all the licensing objectives. Your decisions have to be evidence-based. That's contained in both the 182 guidance and the decision of Daniel Thwaites. We clearly have no evidence as regards this proposed operator as to how the business will be run good or bad, because it is a new operation. Mr. Groombridge has voiced his concerns. I think it's a fair summary of Mr. Groombridge's position that after having heard the details of the operating schedule and the representations made by Mr. Islam and Ms. Guinness, that his concerns are not quite as acute as they probably were when the application was made. Those really are the issues before you. We've had some proposed additional information. The representation that was a bit vague in terms of the clip wasn't placed in front of you. You've seen the photographs and you've heard the issues around the outside area. That is not part of the premises license. It doesn't need to be, and as alcohol is being supplied there, it doesn't need to be licensed, but it is relevant as to any potential noise nuisance that you perceive in terms of how you actually deal with it. There was an outstanding issue, I think, about occupancy of the upstairs. I think that is probably a private issue, as it were. But I think the issue there is that it was part of the fire services concerns, and their representation has been effectively withdrawn on receipt of an undertaking. So I think the correct analysis of that is that it's no longer in the game, as it were, which is probably why Mr. Islam hasn't produced any agreements today. So that's the reason for that. But really, in terms of our licensing policy, we're in a slightly awkward position in that we still have our initial licensing policy. We have a new licensing policy under consultation, which is going to be introduced. So I suppose we have certain aspirations under that new policy. Technically, we're still bound by the old policy. It's fair, really, to say that the old policy repeats much of what is in the Act and in the Section 182 guidance, in that as a licensing authority, we apply the Act and encourage new enterprises in terms of offering nighttime entertainment, but we have to counterbalance that by making sure that the licensing objectives are promoted and the concerns of residents like Mr. Groombridge are protected. The only really groundbreaking paragraph we had in our policy was dealing with premises that had their license revoked and were being presented to us by proposed allegedly new independent operators. Clearly, that doesn't apply to these premises, as it is a completely new applicant. So that's not something that concerns you. We have no cumulative impact zone in Sandwell to concern us, and the thrust of the representations are that it's in a somewhat industrialised area anyway, although clearly there are residents reasonably nearby, like Mr. Groombridge, who are concerned. And of course, you need to bear in mind, although you've heard from Mr. Groombridge today, he does speak on behalf of a number of residents and has been authorised to do so, so you need to bear that in mind as well. So with all that in mind, you can grant the application as sought. You can grant the application but decide on a different designated premises supervisor. I don't think you've heard any evidence today that suggests you need to consider that particular course of action. You could grant the application and amend, impose conditions or amend conditions or undertakings in the operating schedule that have been agreed, or you could refuse the application. So those are the options in front of you.
Excellent, thank you very much. The committee will now retire to consider its decision in private session with the legal advisor and democratic services in attendance only. So I'll ask Shane, who's our democratic services officer, do we all need to... Thank you, everybody. Have we got everybody? Yep, I think so, that's fine. Well, we've obviously reached our decision. We are going to, obviously, and thankfully for you and for us, we're going to be granting you a licence. Normally I would read this out, but obviously our legal advisor has been writing things down as we've been discussing it. So I'll hand you over to David Elliott. He will read out on any of the conditions that we have added to your licence or any slight changes. So David, over to yourself. Microphone's not on, David.
Yes, is Mr. Groombridge here, by the way? Is that you, Mr. Groombridge? Yep. Fine, okay. Just checking. Just to say that I'll be sending everybody an email confirming the decision, including you, Mr. Groombridge. You'll be representing your residents, so you can pass it on to them.
Yeah.
So the decision is to grant. It is a new application. I'll preface what I'm about to say by, as everybody will be aware, there are powers of review under the Licensing Act. If it doesn't work out quite as planned, then the likes of Mr. Groombridge and the residents have a power to petition us to seek a review if things aren't going quite to plan. So I'll just preface what I'm going to say with that. So the hours that we've agreed to grant, and I can make mistakes, so if I've made one, you'll correct me, but so midday to midnight, this is the hours of opening, Monday to Thursday and Sunday. midday to 2 a.m. Friday and Saturday. Sale of alcohol, midday to 11:30 p.m. Monday, Thursday and Sunday. Midday until 1:30 a.m. Friday and Saturday. Music, recorded music, midday till 11:30 p.m. Monday, Friday and Sunday, and midday until 1 a.m. Friday and Saturday. There is a noise limiter to be installed with the assistance of advice from the Environmental Health Department of the Council. The CCTV condition is to be amended so that the CCTV is to be retained for 28 days, not 14. So just to be clear, that condition is amended for 28 days. The noise limiter condition, you're taking advice from our Environmental Health Department as well. And we'll put relevant officers on notice, so it doesn't come as a surprise to them. We'd like you to have an under 25 policy, please, not an under 21 policy, as reflects the council's general preference and policy on these issues. And forget my going on about a refusals book. That has already been adequately catered for in your operating schedule. I just missed it, so apologies for that. There was a provision on page 33 in the crime prevention policy, in the prevention of crime and disorder box that said a crime prevention policy provided by the licensing authority can be used. We don't have a crime prevention policy. We can't provide one and you can't use it. So I'd rather have that deleted because it's asking for something that we can't provide. What we do have, of course, is the crime and disorder licensing objective, which is a matter of law. We have guidance on that, and we also have an existing licensing policy which should be available on our website, which will have some paragraphs in it explaining how we regard the crime and disorder licensing objective. So we didn't think that particular line was necessary, but I think the committee would just like to reiterate that what you put in your operating schedule effectively forms a type of contract between yourself and the licensing authority. So I think that's the decision that we have made today.
You did miss one, David. SIA registered door staff.
Yes, sorry, the door staff have to be SIA registered, and that is actually a mandatory condition of your license anyway, and it reflects, I think, the requirements of the Licensing Act as well. So yes, you can add that to the operating schedule.
Thank you.
So that's the decision. Everyone has a right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days if you are unhappy with the decision. The 21 days will run when you get my email of the decision notice. As a casual aside, I would say that the courts are running at a certain pace in view of the coronavirus crisis, and should I say, licensing appeals are not top of the agenda. So if anybody does appeal, don't expect it to be heard this side of Christmas, and that's being conservative about it. But that's just an observation for you to bear in mind. So I think that's the decision of the committee, unless anybody else has anything to add.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much, David. You're okay, Miss Guinness, Mr. Islam, with that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair, for the decision. Thank you very much.
Make a success of your business so it becomes a part of the community, not a problem in the community. And thank you. David, Macan, thank you.
Yeah, and just to Mr. Groombridge, let's hope some of the steps that have been put forward have reduced your concerns a little bit. But obviously, I've mentioned review powers should there be any issues.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Let's hope I'm not banned.
Good. Oh, excellent. Thank you. And thank you, team, Sue and Sharon. and
Okay.
Shane, and we've still got Tricia and Deb still in there. I don't know, but I hope you enjoyed that. But, yeah, thank you very much. We're getting actually started to get used to this new way of working, but it certainly doesn't replace the old way, and we hopefully will be back to it properly in the future. Thank you very much, and that I'll close the meeting.
I'll try and get an email out today or tomorrow. Okay, thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you, David. Thank you all. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you.